All right, the next file we're going to work on is Girls at Lake. So go ahead and open that file. So with the elephant on the background layer, we use content-aware fill, where we let Photoshop's brain understand that we were trying to sample some of the edge pixels and go ahead and fill whatever our selection was with some sort of version of that. Every time you do that, it's random. So if you don't like the first version it does, do that again. Do edit, fill, content aware, and hit OK, and it's going to generate another version. Kind of like when we did clouds a couple weeks ago. That random clouds filter, you can run it over and over. So that's content aware fill. Now we're going to do content aware scale. This makes it possible for Photoshop to scale an image proportionately without skewing important things. So if we look at this image, can anybody tell me what physical size it is or what dimensions this photo is? Remember, you go image, image size.
10 by 6.
Thank you. It's a 10 by 6. So this image is 10 inches wide, 6.6 tall. And you're working in a magazine and they say, we need this to be a spread of the whole, we want it to go across the whole top. This needs to be 16 inches wide. So you go, all right, well, if I make that 16 inches wide, it's also going to get deeper if I do that, but we don't want that. We want to keep the depth. We just want to make it a wide picture. So our option is we make our canvas 16 inches, and then we have dead space right and left, and how are we going to fill it? In a picture like this, where the background is fairly void of detail, there's not a lot going on here, content-aware scale can take this stuff and stretch it out to the left and make it look reasonable, like more water, add more water. If it's details and it's a bunch of people, you can't stretch out people real well or make fake people 16 inches left and right. But things that don't have a lot of detail, this content-aware scale works really well. All right. We're going to duplicate, you can cancel out of that measurement. We're going to duplicate this layer 4 times. So Command J 4 times. We have layer 1 copy, layer 2, layer 3. All right, this first layer at the bottom, we're going to rename that one normal scale. The next one in line, we're going to do content aware scale. The next one we're going to name Skin Protect. And the last one, Alpha Protect. You guys remember what an alpha channel is? It's a saved selection. It's something that you put marching ants around once and you don't ever want to have to do that again, so you save it with a name and then those marching ants show up whenever you ask for them. So an alpha channel doesn't print, doesn't do anything, it's just a saved selection. All right. Let's just go back to our background layer. We're not going to work there, but the first thing we want to do is they're telling us that they need a bigger canvas size, so we have to stretch our canvas. So under Image, Canvas Size, first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the anchor proxy. Right now it's in the center, which means it would add, if we made this suddenly 20 inches, it would add 5 inches to the right and 5 to the left equally. We're going to anchor it down on the left center point so that all additional size is going to be pushed to the right only. Make sure that relative is unchecked because we're going to actually add it in the width column. And we're going to change this to 15 inches. We're going to keep our height the same, but we're going to make it 15 inches. And then what's our canvas going to look like underneath when we extend it? White is fine. And then say OK. Close this. I'm going to zoom back just a smidge, so this is what we have now. This is the size that we need for our magazine, 15 inches wide. This is the image we have. What are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? All right, let's go turn off all of the eyeballs except the normal scale. Actually, you can leave your background layer lit up too or turned on, but turn off the eyeballs on all the rest and make sure that you are actively highlighting the normal scale layer. That's one we're working on. And we're going to enter into free transform mode because so far that's all we know, right? So Command T, we get our bounding box, and we take that left bounding box and we drag her over. Notice it's scaling proportionately. That's the new default behavior in Photoshop. In order to get it to just scale width and not height, we have to hold the Shift key now. That's opposite of how it's behaved for 100 years, but whatever. So hold Shift, drag it over to the right, say yes in the option bar or enter on your keyboard. You give that to your newspaper editor or your magazine editor and say, I'm done, here. What do you think they say? You suck. Hire somebody else. Is that a good way to fill an extra 5 inches of canvas? Just dragging it? It wasn't real flattering to the girls, was it? Because it also dragged up their pixels, not just the background, but you can see how we can make that background fill that space, and it doesn't look terrible because it's not a lot of detail in it, right? So that's one version. Clearly not the best. All right. Turn off the eyeball for the normal scale. Turn on the visibility and activate content aware scale. All right, go up to your edit menu and come down to content aware scale. Click on that. You have the bounding box again. We're going to drag this right handle again, and again it's trying to do it proportionately. We don't want that, so hold Shift so that we can just drag to the right. Content aware scale. And say yes. Say, look how good I am this time. This is worse. Any guess why what happened? Why the girl in pink is ginormous? We stretched everything. Content aware scale looks for things that don't have a lot of detail and assumes it can stretch them, like the water in the back. Her pink shirt didn't have a lot of detail or variety, so it stretched the heck out of it. This girl's arm on this side got ginormous, not the other one, because there's a little bit more detail there, lights and darks. Her head had detail, didn't get stretched, just her body. So content aware scale looks for things that are void of detail and stretches them. I think that girl would say no to this picture also. I'm quite sure. So turn the eyeball off on that layer. Let's activate and turn on the skin protect layer. Okay, let's go back up to edit, content aware scale. But before we do anything, let's take a peek at our option bar. So up here, we have our numbers, but then towards the right, we have a little outline of a human being. And it says protect skin tones. Click on that to activate it. Now, anything that it perceives as skin tones are not going to get stretched. So come back down to your bounding box, hold Shift, and start dragging to the right. How's that one? Much better than our other two options, at least. So anything that it saw as skin tones, kind of like we just saw with the Liquify filter where we could freeze things, it kind of put a freeze mask over all of the skin tones and then stretched other things, especially those void of detail. So that one's not horrible, but we can probably do even one better than that. All right. Let's turn off the visibility of that layer, go on to Alpha Protect and turn that on. Just by the name that we gave it, Alpha Protect, we're talking about an alpha channel or a saved selection. So we need to make that first before we go into content aware scale. We need to select these two girls, including the space between their arms, because we want to lock that down too. So this gap between her pink shirt and her arm, we want to protect that and not let that stretch out also. So we're going to use the quick selection tool, one of our best buddies. Remember, that's always adding to the selection. So go ahead and select this girl and her arm and the space between it and this arm. And then we're going to come over and hold down Shift, and we're going to select this girl as well. Make sure you get her arm. So we have marching ants around our two girls. How do you make an alpha selection? How do we create that save selection? That's what we're going to do next, and that's what the book people did for us in that puppet warp elephant exercise. Before they gave us the file, they saved the selection of the elephant. So we're going to save this of the girls. We're going to go up to the select menu, and we're going to come down almost to the bottom and say save selection, and it's going to say, what do you want to call this? We'll just call this girls, and it's going to be a new channel. And then we say okay. Notice nothing changed in our layers panel, but if we go to the channels, instead of just having our RGB channels, red, green, blue, we now have an alpha channel that we can see that looks like a mask. It's just the selection of our two girls. Okay. So back in your layers panel, we have an alpha selection made. We're going to turn off our marching ants. We don't need them anymore because that selection exists. So Command D to get the marching ants to go away. Then we're going to go content aware scale again. So edit content aware scale. And up in our option bar, instead of just the skin protection, right next to it, it says protect none. We're going to click on that drop down box, and now anything that exists as an alpha channel shows up. So here's our girls. Protect the alpha channel. Don't let whatever we had in those marching ants change. Protect the girls. Come down into your bounding box, hold Shift and pull to the right. And we have stretched everything except our two girls. So we stretched out the background and it looks relatively good. If you want to look at the difference, you know, turning on and off these eyeballs, we can turn off the background layer too. So this is the alpha channel, which was protecting the girls completely. That was the version of Skin Protect. And if you turn on both of those with the Alpha Protect above it and then turn off, you can kind of see the shift. There was that poor girl in pink did get stretched again, even in the Skin Protect that we thought did a good job. It did stretch out some of her pink shirt. Skin Protect, if we leave the eyeball of that on but nothing else, and then we look at Content Aware Scale and we turn those two off, yeah, there's no contest there, right? That was terrible. And then the normal, where we just took the free transform and we dragged, they both got ginormous. Okay. So that's Content Aware Scale. Any questions or issues on that? Okay, I'm going to show you the last tool within here, which is Content Aware Move. All right. I'm trying to think. I think we keep using the same file. Just give me a second. Yep, we're good. Okay. So to provide a frame of reference, we're first going to make a selection with our normal move tool first. We're going to see how the move tool behaves, and then we're going to see that content aware move. Let's see, duplicate. So this Alpha Protect layer, this top one that we have, let's turn off the eyeballs of everything but that. And let's duplicate that one, Command J. And we're going to rename that new layer Content Aware Move. Turn off the eyeballs of every other layer and make sure that you're on the content aware move layer. That's the one that's highlighted. We're going to take our lasso tool and we're going to make a loose lasso around the girl in pink to kind of select her. So it doesn't have to be perfectly close. Just get a selection around her. And let's say that now the editor says, I want like 6 feet between those two girls. I want to put words between them and there's not enough room. Can't go back and retake the picture. So we have the girls selected, or the one girl. And let's drag her to the left. Whoops. Let's drag her to the left using the move tool. So we cut her out and we left a big gaping hole where she was. And this could work. This is the way we kind of had to do it in the past. But you'd have to go back into your background layer. You'd have to fill in the gap that you left somehow. Different tools, patching, cloning, content aware fill now would do a great job of that. But then you'd also have to go and look at her, like she looks pretty natural except for right around this rock jetty thing. You can see that it's fake because there's some water around her head that makes it look fake. So not the best version. So undo that, Command Z. Okay, over in our spot healing brushes, so that's the brushes with the Band-Aids, we have a whole bunch of other tools, and we've used most of them now, all of them except for the Content Aware Move tool. So go and activate that one. It looks like 2 arrows kind of crisscrossing each other. It's nested in the healing brush tools. And we're going to look up at our option bar first to see what's going on. In the mode, we can choose move or extend. Because we're in the content aware move tool, move is the default. It knows we want to move things, so that's good. Structure 4 up to 7, how loose or how tightly do we want Photoshop to interpret what we're doing? We'll just leave that at 4. If our selection is still active, we can use it. Otherwise, if you don't have your marching ants around the girl in pink, go ahead and get them first. You can draw the selection with this tool, the Content Aware Move tool. It works just like the lasso. Now we're going to drag this girl to the left. Notice it didn't leave a hole, but once we get it where we want it and say OK, Photoshop did its best to move her and fill in the hole that was left. So if you still see that bounding box, you have to say yes. You have to hit the check mark, OK, or hit OK on your keyboard, return, I'm sorry. And it did a decent job of filling in the hole and of blending her on her new background. So it kind of did 2 steps in one. You could go back and touch this up, obviously, but it looks pretty good. So that's Content Aware Move. Sometimes, I think the sample that they did with this in their videos when they first came out with this tool was this like aerial shot of this hill, beautiful green grass hilly, and there was a road up the middle of it, and they took the road and just moved it over to the left, and using that tool, it blended in perfectly over here, and it filled in the hole where it used to be, which would have taken numerous steps in old Photoshop. Okay? You'd want to clean that up, but it's a really good start. So, any questions on Content Aware Fill or Move?